Done a lot with people, but you can use your flashes for a lot more things than just people, right? So a lot of people watching today love nature, love flowers, love outdoors. So I want to show you how to use a single speed light to do great macro photography. So let's talk about flash photography in the context of macro photography. A lot of times when you do macro work, if you're not using flash, you're at the whim of whatever weather conditions are present. So today we have a cloudy day, and actually cloudy days are fairly good for macro photography, but they yield relatively flat lighting. You don't get to contour and shape the light. So I'm going to show you how to use your flash to shape and contour the light to create a little bit more sparkle and pizzazz in your macro work. Normally when I do macro photography, I use what's called an extension tube. That extension tube basically goes between the lens and the camera. The flowers we found today are fairly large flowers though, so I'm not going to need the extension tube for this macro example. Let me show you the lighting setup that I'm going to use. I actually made this for another Creative Live class I taught called Do-It-Yourself Lighting. And what this is this is a wash basin. You can get this wash basin basically at any department store. It costs a couple dollars, literally. I cut a hole in the wash basin, I put the flash through there, and then on this side, I put the diffusion dome on top of the flash just to keep the flash from falling out. It's quite simple. I'm triggering the system using the radio trigger technology from Nikon, but again, this will work with anything like a Canon or a Fuji or a Sony, and even any of the wireless stuff you buy on eBay or Amazon. It all works. Nothing too crazy about the trigger. I'm back in TTL mode rather than in manual mode, so let me show the camera my settings overall. So for this, I'm going to be mobile. I'm moving around. I'm moving forward and backwards, up and down, left and right, and it's hard to be fixed with my exposure and with my distances, so I want to be back in more of the automated modes. I'm in aperture priority mode. I'm choosing an aperture of, let's just say, I don't know, f5.6, something like that, and I'm at ISO 100. Now my shutter speed is going to vary depending on wherever I point the camera. And then the TTL, I'll show you the flash control, I'm in TTL mode. There we go, TTL. And I'm just gonna start out my flash power at -1 in TTL mode. So that's about a stop down from a medium brightness exposure. And I'm doing -1 because I want to use the ambient light as the predominant light, and then the flash is kind of a fill or a kicker. All right, we push OK. And now we just start taking pictures. And as I'm taking some photos, I'll kind of talk about how I'm positioning my light kit. So this basically works like a big old softbox, and I can position it here on the side, I can position it on top, I can position it back by the camera, I can even position it here to get kind of a rim light. So this is a very fast and flexible way to do macro photography and get a different look in each of these positions. So we'll just take a few shots. I'll start out here on the left. Get down low to make the background kind of fade away. I'm gonna take a look at my image real quick just to see what my exposures are like. Yeah, that's looking good. It's looking like the sun is kind of shining through the flower, which is exactly what I want. I'm gonna move it back a little bit farther so it does shine through the flowers. Great. And I'm basically just getting it as close as I can to the flower without getting into the frame. And that just makes it all very nice and soft. Let me look at the photo here real quick. Oh, those are looking great, looking fantastic. Shoot to the lower flower here. I'm gonna try on top. Try to the front. To the side. Now here's where I wish I had another hand, because I really want it to be over here. So I'm gonna shoot like this. See how that works. Cool. That's a hard move. It's a good workout. And one more shot. I'm gonna shoot from the top down so we can get kind of the triangle effect of these flowers. Cool. There's no right positioning here. And that's why I'm moving it around so much. You never really know until you look at the photos on your computer screen what's gonna be best. Right on, those look great. So there you have it. Nice field photography macro lighting kit. Yeah, who knew wash tubs, wash basins would work for your flash photography? Before I used this wash basin, I would use something like this. And this is great. It's basically a little fold-up reflector, and it's translucent, okay? So I would I would bounce light off of it, or I would shoot light through it. And both of those methods work. But here's the difficulty with using something like this, is you have to find a way to hold the flash and then attach it to this thing and hold your camera, so think through that: flash, reflector, camera, position. It's just too many things to kind of mess with. So I was just kind of thinking through what's the best solution, and I actually saw another photographer had used this idea. I bought this from a department store, the one that has the red symbol. You all know that one. And it cost me just a few dollars. I took my flash and I just used a Sharpie pen and outlined the outside of the flash on there. Put that in the hole. Super easy, trust me. There we go. And you want it a little bit tight so there's a little friction. And then you put your diffusion dome on there, and the diffusion dome basically just holds it into place. Also, the diffusion dome scatters the light around inside of the wash basin, so it makes the light soft overall. Now I can hold on to this, and this is easy, and wherever I position it, that's basically a softbox. I can here, on top, on back, on the side, on the front, whatever. And then it takes a little bit of skill. I just locked myself out of my camera. There we go. A little bit of skill, doing something like this: forward, top, back. I was using TTL, and I was in aperture priority mode. Okay, so some of you asked about that a little bit earlier today. Why? Why was I using TTL and aperture priority? Well, it's pretty mobile. The flash moving from here to here, that's actually a pretty big change. And if I was doing manual exposure, what I'd have to do is I'd have to set down my little kit here. I'd have to go to the menu and change the exposure, then pick it all back up. So TTL is much faster overall, much more efficient for me to do. Now, if I was on a tripod and I was using maybe an umbrella or some other type of lighting kit, I would actually go back to manual mode, because then things are stable, consistent, and repeatable. So let's go look at one of the photos. Actually, before I get to the photo, off-camera flash. I love doing off-camera flash for macro photography. I think off-camera flash gives you much better look to your images than on-camera flash. I see a lot of photographers trying to do on-camera flash, like that photo we took earlier in the day with Remy, our parkour athlete. It's just not going to look good. So get the flash off to the side, and then shape the light. This is a pretty large surface compared to a flower. In fact, this is a really, from a perspective standpoint, this is 20 to 30 times bigger than the flower. How fantastic is that for soft wraparound light? And then TTL, we talked about that. I love working in TTL mode when I need to be mobile, and I use manual for when I'm tripoded up. So macro triggers, there are a lot of ways to trigger this, but if you want really consistent macro photography, you might consider using the cable, like I talked about earlier today, using the full-on TTL cable. I like that. I actually do a lot of my macro photography with the cable because it's all close here to the camera. I don't have to worry about any type of technology, but it is a little bit clunky, whereas wireless allows me freedom to move around. I can put it wherever I want to. And of course, we have to end with the picture. So one pretty photo of a yellow flower, and you guys all saw how we made that.